Hello and welcome back to TheLine.Info's Healthcare Corner. The topic we'll be discussing today is how new medical procedures and technologies are taking a long time to get to patients and how that affects their care outcomes. My name is Dr. Joseph Barvanuncio Arrington. I'm a healthcare professional. I've been involved in a lot of different sectors of healthcare, healthcare administration, building and scaling biotech startups. I'm a patented medical device inventor, and oddly enough, I'm also a current collegiate wrestler at the University of Utah's NCAA team. Yeah, I don't think that they checked my ID before letting me on the mat. Outside of that, I do hold a doctorate of business administration that I got from Drexel University, as well as a master of business administration that I received from Westminster University, and I'm currently in the throes of a PhD at the University of Utah School of Medicine to continue my research endeavors and hone my research skills a bit and continue the research that I've been working on for a while. Said research is actually on and very related to the topic for today, which I mentioned was how new medical procedures, technologies, and whatnot are taking a long time to get to patients. I want to talk about how that's affecting us patients. When somebody is going to create a new medical device or a new medical procedure, similar to what I did for Vermile, I'll use my experience as a little bit of a template here for us. I had to identify a need. For me, I suffer from various what's called parasomnias, things like sleep paralysis, acting out my dreams, talking in my sleep, when I was younger, chronic night terrors, things like that. So I know that there are millions just in the United States where I'm from that suffer from that same condition. And so I went through and I conceptualized what a device, what an answer to that would look like. I did some research on it, did some testing, some designing with some biotech engineers that I teamed up with. We did some risk management. We created a prototype. Actually, I'm not going to pull it out, but it's right here next to me, the prototype for a medical device. And this was just a process to make sure that we were able to help the people that we were wanting to target. All the while, and this is the same as a framework, more or less, this is what all people trying to go through this process are going through. They also, many of them are going to go after securing their intellectual property, meaning that they want to get a patent on it. Especially in countries like the United States where that's important. That kind of gives you a mini monopoly for X number of years. I think it's around 20 in the United States, saying, hey, thank you very much for investing time and money and resources into creating something new. And as a thank you, the government's going to say that you have a force field around what you are creating for that number 20 or some odd X number of years to make sure that you can work on getting a return on that investment. All of that, it takes time, it takes money like I was mentioning. And then when we get to that point, you have to go and then get regulatory approval here in the United States at the FDA. It's the same thing like if you were going after like becoming a Lean Six Sigma black belt and getting certified in that. Or if you're wanting to become a fellow of one of those American College of XYZ specialties. There's a process that you go through to be officially certified by them, saying, oh, you are certified as a Lean Six Sigma black belt. You are certified as a fellow of the American College of Emergency Physicians. That sort of thing. You have to go through a certain process so that people know that that certification means something. It means that you hit a certain caliber in that field.
And people say, oh, he's
standardized. I know what I'm getting when somebody is certified there. And it's the same thing with the FDA. They're wanting to make sure that patients are going to be receiving something that's safe for them. People will not be in danger, and there's not some mad scientist out there experimenting on people.
It's alive!
But does it really do that? Or is this adding unnecessary bloat and fluff to the process? When you're going through, depending on the level of engagement, I guess you could say, between the medical device and the user, you'll get either Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 designation in the whole FDA regulatory approval process. Some are a little more invasive than others, and others are more like glorified alarm clocks, for instance. That would be more like a class 1 device. And it all kind of depends on what is being seen and how that device is going to be helping said patient. And then all of this, you're also doing what's called pre-market submissions. And that is submitting a lot of different documents that were kept throughout the creation and invention of your device to make sure that when we're looking at it, when the FDA is looking at it, they're like, okay, so everything looks above board. Everything was done correctly. There's no fishy things. Like, there's no illegal like poaching of animal parts or whatnot to make the device the way that we need it to be. Everything's above board. For some things, it's going to need clinical trials, especially for those maybe class 2, but definitely class 3 devices. And this would be done to show in a real environment with real test subjects that the device is safe and effective. Then, after all is said and done, the FDA will review all of this submitted data to make sure that device is meeting safety and performance standards. And just to get to this point, the average time, and that's if you have money. I don't, so my time has actually been longer, or it's about to become longer. From conception to FDA approval, and that's not even getting into the hands of the patients who need it, just to get approved, 3 to 7 years. It takes a long time. Then after that, you have to work on the manufacturing that leads up to your launch. Making sure you have the right distributors, the right company that's going to be able to manufacture the way you want it to, and it's going to be cost effective. Also, you're going to be looking at quality control to ensure the product continues helping patients and that there aren't any unforeseen defects, not from the clinical side of things, but maybe there's something the manufacturing side of things that crept in, and you want to make sure that's not going to be messing with patients as they're interacting with your device. So by the time that it gets to the sales, the distribution, the marketing strategies, all of this is cleaned and slick and polished through so that when you see this device, almost like magic from our perspective, it's like, oh wow, scientists are amazing. They have an idea and poof, they come out with the golden egg.
How do you know about honkers?
What?
Honkers, get in on this app idea.
Yeah, he got a golden egg.
And it's beautiful and it's making my life better and it's amazing. Well, I mean, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that leads to that point. And then after that, to make sure it stays relevant, you have to have a marketing team. You have to do promotions. It's really complex and it takes time. And that's just for medical devices. What about new procedures and techniques? Well, it's kind of a similar process, but also you have to show rationale against existing procedures. And that's very different than a medical device because medical devices kind of fall into the realm of business. And in business, we want healthy competition. We want to force there to be no monopolies outside of that protected patent area. And even then you have a lot of people like, okay, so let's reverse engineer their patent. What did they claim? What did they not? Let's see if we can jump into compete against them with the things that they didn't claim in their patent. It's a fun little domain. And then there's a whole like, oh, I'm going to infringe on your patent anyway because I know I have more money than you and I'll beat you in court by burying you under papers. It gets complicated. But anyway, that's the business world. Now we're looking more clearly at the clinical world. If you went and said, oh, okay, well, you have a lot of different procedures to choose from for one specific thing, it can get kind of weird and confusing for the physician. Like, okay, why would I choose one or the other? You have to make sure that you justify and have rationale for coming up with a whole new procedure. Is it better? Is it going to make things quicker for the... How does it do things better? Does it do things better? And part of all of that is the end goal is to be given a CPT code. And that is created so that physicians can prescribe here in the United States under one unified system, and we all can check back and say, oh, what procedure did you do? Oh, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Perfect. I know what that is. And for those of you who aren't completely familiar with CPT codes, if you've ever been to a mechanic at a car shop and they said, oh, okay, it looks like your brakes are this and your alignment is that and this, that, and the other, and this specific combination Let's see how much it's going to cost you and how much time more or less is going to take me to do it. Let me check the book. And they have a book full of different price points for time and labor and whatnot. That's what a CPT code does. And it also helps with hospitals and physicians getting paid and sometimes reimbursed from places like Medicare, Medicaid, other insurances, so that the system, the people are getting paid for the work that they're doing. So it's a very unified, standardized system here in the United States. And so with that in mind, on top of FDA approval for a new medical technique or procedure that is going to be prescribed or done in clinic, and also for some medical devices. Some medical devices, the people who made them, like that's actually the pathway I'm on with my medical device. We want to get that over so that physicians are prescribing that via CPT code to patients. So on top of getting FDA approved, those who are going that pathway need to go through the CPT editorial panel, and they decide whether the proposed novelty new procedure is either approved, rejected, postponed for additional information that it might be needed, or outright rejected for whatever reason. And imagine going through all of this and you get rejected at the very end. So much work. I cannot even imagine what it would be like to be in that situation. Like with everything I put into my medical innovation, that would be devastating.
What about if I was one of those guys who's like, my research! Years of my research! It's been destroyed! I'll never find the cure again!
What are you doing,
personality?
Yeah, just one of those dudes whose years of research got rocked.
Honestly, I'm starting to get it.
We're going to circle right back now to why this matters to us, the patient. A CPT panel may take up to 2 years because of everything they have in line and all the other work they have to do to get to any one specific list in innovation or potential innovation that's on their queue. Get in line. It's really frustrating.
Michael, how did it go? Is the committee going to help us?
The committee's a bunch of ineffectual dorks in fleece vests. The Titanic is sinking and they're writing a strongly worded letter to the iceberg. How much more evidence do they need?
For both medical devices and new procedures, community buy-in is needed. Just because you went through all of that doesn't mean that people may even know about it or have been exposed to it in a way that you're like, hey, I'm going to adopt this. Take, for example, the situation. You hear from a colleague at your job, something like along the lines of, hey, there's a cool new way to cut down the amount of time that we're doing a count of the money from the till, or there's a new way to scan an item that's even faster than we've scanned before, or a different way to greet customers that will improve their response times, or a new way to check the oil in your car that you didn't suspect was possible, but it's better than before. So after you ensure that your friend was not possessed by a sidebar ad, once that's cleared away, you may ask where this new technique came from.
Not from a Jedi.
And maybe they'll say that they saw it from some guy who's from Europe at some convention, and they saw them doing this, and that person swears by it. You really feel no connection to that. You didn't see it. You just hear it offhand at some random convention. And you're going to need more than just some guy's secondhand experience seeing someone else do that. Maybe, like in the professional world of healthcare, one of those academic colleges I mentioned, or another one of those professional organizations saying, oh, we highly recommend this. FDA approval could go a long way as well, but a lot of things are FDA approved. Maybe you see your trusted colleague actually using it themselves and you see firsthand those benefits and how it's working for them. Or maybe you see in a newspaper from a reputable source, things like that. The same thing does apply in medicine. I mean, these are people doing a job, and just because something sounds good or somebody really promoted it, doesn't mean they're going to listen. Doesn't mean that they have time to listen. Doesn't mean that they have time to sit and think, oh, everything I'm doing seems to be working. Am I really going to take time to hear some new fringe thing? Not counting all of the time they're bombarded by sales reps, probably on a daily basis, trying to peddle their new wear. In the end, I don't know about you, but I want the best care possible for myself. What I discussed today are just some of the issues contributing to getting novel procedures and devices out there for physicians to use. I only hinted at one of the culprits. And this one's a huge one. It's finances, ROIs, return on investment, grant funding, investors, loans, sacrifices made by the inventors and or the founders. It's just one snapshot that I gave you of the possible resonance states that are found in this constantly shifting fluid mosaic. According to a systemic review by Morris and their research team in 2011, the average time from conception to adoption for a novel procedure or medical device, for it to get to the patient, is 17 years. And that's an average. That means that there are some that are pulling down the average, and there are others that are making it longer. For myself, my experience, it was a very bizarre thing. I was playing basketball. There was nobody around me. Somebody bricked it. It bopped off the backboard. I jumped in the air, grabbed the rebound. Before I even landed, I felt something weird. From what we can tell, I jumped at a weird angle, and the torque and whatnot from all of that shredded my MCL, my ACL, and my meniscus. I'm actually slated in the next couple weeks to get surgery on my meniscus again because it's wearing down again. Very weird, very bizarre thing. And it took a long time to recover, especially the ACL, MCL part. It was very invasive. I discovered that there's a new procedure called the BEAR procedure, Bridge Enhanced ACL Repair. It is a minimally invasive technique using a collagen and autologous blood scaffold that bridges the torn ACL so that it can be fixed sooner. And this is reported in a 2023 paper by Kahn and their research team. When I did a little bit of diving into it, I wanted to see the time frame, and according to Google Gemini, so take that as you will, Google Gemini states that the preclinical studies for this were from 2006 to 2012. So that doesn't even count the potential years that took to get of research to get to preclinical stage. And then in 2 years later, in 2014, they received FDA approval. And then the first trial was in 2015. And then 3 months later, and this was trial 2, and that lasted for a year until June of 2016. We could take this in a couple of different ways. One is being mad. I had my surgery, I think it was 2012, 2013. The BEAR technique could have reduced my recovery time. I could have had access to it. But the committees were making sure all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed and everything was just perfectly meticulous. I could have been healing faster. Another way to take it is I could be grateful that they were so meticulous and they made sure that everything was in a line so that future people who were going to need this were going to be able to take advantage of it and be as safe as possible with hardly any question because it's FDA approved. They went through all of the different steps, CPT, FDA, all that stuff. Or,
¿Por qué no los dos?
Why can't we have both? Can we have both? Is there bloat in this process? It was one of my very first research experiences that led to a publication. We were investigating how people interacted with their glucose monitors. And when I had gathered all the data and codified everything and all the nerdy research stuff, when I was looking and analyzing it myself before we sent it to our statisticians, I noticed something. The raw numbers, and the stats verified this afterward, the raw numbers showed that people using their glucose monitors in non-FDA approved spots had the same number of failure and success that people using in FDA approved spots. There was no difference. Members of our team then made phone calls to different continuous glucose monitor manufacturers, and they were told that, it's really expensive to get FDA approved. So we just went through and we noted the different sites that we thought were going to be the most advantageous for us to sell to, and we got those FDA approved. We know that they could actually work in different places, but we just didn't have the money to get all of those places approved. That does lead a question. How many other things that are not FDA approved actually are okay to do? But that's a dangerous road to go down, potentially. If you question everything and you try to use anything in any way, you put yourself at risk to hurting yourself because it may not have been vetted at all. And you're just following some random person's advice online to do something that's going to hurt yourself. So we're at a crossroads. What are some different solutions we can take? One, we just stay the course. We know things will take a long time. Rome wasn't built in a day. But the system we have in place gets us a really good outcome with generally a huge, really nice percentage rate of safe medicines and procedures. It takes a long time. Or we raise the system and start from scratch. Since the system we have right now honestly is full of scotch tape and band-aids that have led to the system being the way that it is. And I'm going to need a whole other video to dive into that topic. I'm just going to leave it at that. Another solution is one that I'm personally doing in my academic research. I'm looking at adopting one subset of this issue and focusing on lifting where I stand, researching an area I believe is going to contribute to the narrative of the adoption of novel procedures to help innovation in healthcare. We all have something we can do. Are you not a researcher? Maybe you're an administrator. Perhaps look into why your teams should be embracing innovations and how it improves both patient and hospital outcomes. From there, you might be influenced and encouraged to start making team meetings directly geared toward promoting innovation adoption. You can open up a discourse there. Maybe you can hear some of the challenges your coworkers on your teams may have. You never know which conversation may unlock a door that could really help us blast through this important issue. Overall, thank you so very much for listening. Please make sure to follow and subscribe to us on our various social media accounts. Your support ensures we can continue bringing you news and information. Until next time, this has been Dr. Arrington with TheLine.Info at the Healthcare Corner. See ya.